If audience members could please begin taking their seats. Standing will be prohibited during this meeting. And if you don't have a seat, extra seating can be found in the atrium.
It's just very quiet.
Could everyone please take their seats? At this time, we'd like to invite members of the media forward for photos of the governor prior to gaveling in the committee. The House Committee on Appropriations will come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chair Whitmer.
Here.
Representatives O'Neill.
Present.
Brixey. Hood. Present. Braybeck. Here. Morse. Here. Hurry. Here. Steckloff. Weiss. Here. Martis.
Here.
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 Here. Here.
Leitner.
Here.
Bolin.
Here.
Green.
Present.
Slaw. Beeson.
Here.
Horton.
Here.
Fink. Cabot.
Present.
DeVore. Schutte.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have 26 members present. You do have a quorum.
Representative Leitner moves to excuse absent members. Without objection, the absent members will be excused from today's meeting. I want to welcome a special friend of mine and chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, Senator Sarah Anthony, who will preside over the Senate committee today.
Well, good morning and happy Black History Month. Thank you all for being here for probably is the most attended budget meeting we'll ever have. So thank you all for coming. I'd like to welcome and call to order the Senate Committee on Appropriations. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Chair Anthony.
Here.
Senator McCann.
Present.
Senator McDowell-Rivet.
Here.
Senator Cherry. Here. Senator Bear. Here. Senator Santana. Present. Senator Schenk. Here. Senator Irwin. Here. Senator Hertel. Here. Senator Kavanaugh. Here. Senator Kleinfeld. Here. Senator McMorrow. Here. Senator Camilleri. Here. Senator Bumstead. Here. Senator Albert. Here. Senator DeMoose. Here. Senator Heisinger. Here. Senator Altman. And Senator Tice. Madam Chair, you have 18 members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we need to excuse any members? All right. I believe that Senator Irwin moves and Senator Bayer supports that we excuse absent members from today's meeting. Without objection, absent members will be excused from today's meeting. All right. I think we'll go back to Representative Whitmer.
At this time, We all are honored to welcome Governor Gretchen Whitmer and Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist to present their sixth executive budget recommendation. The Governor and Lieutenant Governor will be joined by Budget Director Jen Flood and Deputy Budget Director Kyle Garant. Due to time constraints, the Governor will only join us for a portion of the budget presentation, but Director Flood and her team will be able to answer a limited number of questions following the presentation. All of the information provided today will be found online at the State Budget Office website. Governor and Lieutenant Governor, please begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Chairwoman Whitmer and Chair Anthony. So glad to be with all of you today, and very happy to have my budget director next to me. She is delivering the budget today, but delivered a baby 3 weeks ago. And so she is here with us, and awfully glad to be here with all of you. I'm excited to present my executive budget proposal that will keep our progress moving forward. As I said in my State of the State, we have a heck of a record. So let's build on it by enacting another balanced, bipartisan, and fiscally responsible budget. My proposal today will deliver on the vision that I outlined a couple weeks ago, lowering costs, improving education, and ensuring that anyone and everyone can make it here in Michigan. Over the past year, our economy has been heading in the right direction. Unemployment remains low, our credit rating is strong, and we are a top 10 state for doing business. We got it done by collaborating on the kitchen table issues and effectively managing our finances. Since I took office, we have paid down over $18 billion of debt, and with this next budget can pay down $21 billion of debt, bringing that up, more than either of the previous two administrations. We brought our rainy day fund to an all-time high of $2 billion, and we even established a new rainy day fund for schools, setting aside nearly $500 million for the future of our children's education. We did all of this without raising taxes by a dime. In fact, we delivered $1 billion of tax relief. We've rolled back the retirement tax for 500,000 senior households, giving an average of $1,000 a year. We quintupled the working families tax credit, putting an average combined refund of $3,150 in the pockets of 700,000 Michigan families. Michiganders are going to start seeing refund checks starting next week. Very exciting. Both tax breaks have huge impacts. More seniors can retire with dignity. Tens of thousands of families will be lifted out of poverty, and half the children in Michigan directly benefit from these changes. So I want to thank both chairs and every legislator who helped us get this done. This year, we want to build on our momentum, and I proposed several ideas in my State of the State 2 weeks ago. I know a lot of people watched the speech and rightfully asked, how the heck are we going to pay for this stuff while balancing the budget? Well, let me tell you, over the last few years, we have paid down certain debt from MIPSERS, our retirement program for our educators. We've been able to pay it down early. It's kind of like paying off your mortgage early. So we've got dollars that we don't have to continue using toward that. So thanks to this prudent move, we have freed up an extra $670 million that we can use this year and hundreds of millions going forward. We can use these freed up resources to deliver for Michigan students today without shortchanging our retirees and maintaining our fiscal discipline. In fact, balanced budget proposes another deposit into our rainy day fund to bring it to an all-time high of $2.2 billion and would not raise taxes by a dime on our Michiganders. So let's dig in. First, I want to talk about costs. It is the top of mind challenge for Michiganders right now. It's hard to buy a house, afford a car, or save for retirement while keeping up with bills. No matter who you are or where you come from, if you work hard, you should be able to provide for your family and have a fair shot at a better future. Let's work together to make life more affordable by lowering costs on the biggest expenses in people's budgets. Expenses like housing, transportation, healthcare, education, utilities, and food. So first, let's talk about lowering the cost of housing. We know that this is a serious challenge, I guarantee, in every one of your districts. Statewide, we know that 50% of renters and 25% of homeowners spend more than 30% of their income on housing. In other words, rent is too damn high and there's just too damn little housing. The solution is building. Build, baby, build, as I said in my State of the State. In the next fiscal year, MSHDA will use their existing loan dollars and bond money to invest $1.4 billion to build or rehabilitate almost 10,000 homes. That's the largest investment to build housing in Michigan history. It's 10 times what we put into housing just 10 years ago. Thanks to MSHDA's effective financial management, they can build or refurbish 10,000 homes without a single dollar coming from this additional budget proposal. Getting this done will support thousands of good-paying middle-class jobs in the skilled trades, from pipe fitters to carpenters, bricklayers, and roofers, but most importantly, help people have more access to affordable housing. Over the last few years, we've been headed in the right direction on housing. Since I took office, we have invested double what we did in the previous 8 years to build or rehabilitate 34,000 homes, supporting 20,000 construction jobs in the way. In this budget, we will support MSHDA's efforts by funding housing and community revitalization projects that make our small towns and big cities better places to live, work, and invest. So let's roll up our sleeves and continue this work together. Now I want to talk about lowering the cost of health care. In tandem with the Biden-Harris administration, we've made strides to tackle the cost of prescription drugs and expand health coverage over the last few years. For the first time ever, Medicare can negotiate directly for lower drug prices, and the cost of insulin is capped at $35 a month for all. That's a big deal. A record number of Americans, 21 million, have signed up for coverage under the Affordable Care Act. Kids can stay on their parents' plan until they turn 26, and you can't be charged more for a pre-existing condition. I already proposed the Caring for My Family tax credit, which would save Michiganders who incur caregiving expenses with an aging or sick relative, saving them up to $5,000 on their taxes. This disproportionately benefits women, and especially women of color who bear the brunt of family caregiving responsibilities. In this budget, let's continue our commitment to lowering healthcare costs by ensuring that no one on Medicaid, adults or kids, are charged premiums. This includes maintaining $0 premiums for My Child, which offers comprehensive coverage for insured Michiganders 19 and under at low cost. We can all agree that every child deserves access to health care, regardless of their ability to pay. Thanks to our work to eliminate premiums for My Child, we're saving parents money and ensuring every Michigan child can get help when they're sick or hurt. Whether they need a checkup or dental services, vision support, or mental health care, let's support our kids. Every parent we know wants their children to thrive in school and be set up for a brighter future. This year, let's deliver on what I'm referring to as the Michigan Guarantee. It's a simple idea, but it's got huge applications and implications for every child. Every child in Michigan deserves a high-quality public education from pre-K through post-secondary. Thanks to the long-term MIPSR's debt we paid down early, we've secured over $600 million more to annually use for our children's education. In other words, we have the resources to invest in our people through the Michigan Guarantee. And it starts with pre-K. We know that kids who go to pre-K arrive at kindergarten better prepared to learn and go on to graduate at higher rates and earn more money. This is about setting up our youngest Michiganders for lifelong health and lifelong wealth. Last year, I proposed pre-K for all by the end of 2026. In this budget, I'm proposing we actually get it done 2 years earlier, ahead of schedule, and save parents $10,000 a year and give every child a solid academic foundation. In addition to pre-K for all, let's expand quality, affordable childcare. Childcare is an essential bridge to education for kids with working parents. Moms and dads need to be able to go back to work with confidence, knowing that their children are safe and cared for. In this budget, I am proposing free childcare for childcare workers so we can boost the rates of childcare providers to increase slots and improve facilities. And leading by example as one of the state's largest employers by saving state of Michigan employees thousands on their childcare expenses. Childcare and pre-K are companion pieces to help young Michiganders thrive. To improve K-12 education, we will make another historic investment in our kids and in our schools. I'm proposing that we continue feeding our kids free breakfast and lunch at school, saving parents over $850 a year per student on grocery bills and valuable time running around in the morning trying to make sure their kids have something nutritious in their backpack. Every parent knows how stressful it is to get out the door on time in the morning. You're scrambling to find a missing glove or last night's homework while putting together a sandwich or stuffing carrots into a baggie. Knowing that your child will eat no matter what is a huge relief. And that's why in this budget, we will leverage federal funding to feed students over the summer as well. This benefits 900,000 kids, and I'm proud that I believe we are on the cusp of getting it done, because our students should never go hungry. Let's also raise per pupil funding to another record high. Keep the funding gap between schools closed and ensure students who need extra support can get it. Let's upgrade our campuses to grow the teaching profession to make our schools safer, better places to learn. And finally, let's continue funding school safety and mental health. When our students are unsafe or struggling or starving, it's impossible to learn. So let's manage progress on all of these fronts through this budget, and let's get it done for our kids. Now I want to talk about post-secondary education. We'll continue chasing our 60 by 30 goal to have 60% of working adults with a post-secondary education or skills training by 2030. When I took office, we were at 45%. As of last week, we're over 51%. We got here together by lowering the age of the bipartisan Michigan Reconnect program to 21 and offering hundreds of thousands of Michiganders a tuition-free associate's degree or skills training opportunity. We established the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, lowering the cost of community, private, or public university. We established, in this budget, I'm proposing that we go farther. In this budget, I'm proposing that we offer every single high school graduate the chance to earn an associate's degree or skills training at a community college tuition-free. This would be a transformational opportunity for our students, helping them save more than $4,000 a year and giving them a path to a better paying, high-skill job in a career that they love. So together, I'm proposing we realize and deliver the Michigan Guarantee. Let's show employers that we have the workforce that they need to succeed. And let's show parents across the nation why they should come to the state of Michigan. We'll save you thousands on your child's education and help you build a great quality of life at a good cost of living. We've got your back to live the classic Michigan story. After you graduate with a degree or certificate, we want to make sure that you can land a good paying, in-demand job to sustain yourself and your family. And that's why this budget is proposing investments to help anyone and everyone make it here in Michigan. In my address 2 weeks ago, I laid out a suite of new economic development tools for our bipartisan toolkit. Let's get those done so that we can compete with other states and nations to bring supply chains home and create thousands of good-paying jobs. As I mentioned in my speech, let's establish an innovation fund to invest in high-growth startups that will create the future right here in Michigan. With it, we can launch hundreds of new scalable Michigan-based startups and create thousands of jobs. We can build an ecosystem for innovation here in Michigan. We'll also continue funding programs to power workforce development, things like Going Pro, talent action teams, and our new Office for Community and Worker Economic Transition. We will win the future in advanced manufacturing without leaving any person or place behind. Our inclusive economic agenda supports rural economies too. This budget would boost funding for the Office of Rural Prosperity and create a new farm-to-family program that supports regenerative farming, agricultural supply chains, and Michigan-made produce and products. We'll also help small and disadvantaged businesses compete for state contracts and drive growth in underrepresented groups and regions. And of course, we're going to keep fixing the damn roads, bridges, pipes, and everything in between. We've fixed over 20,000 lane miles and 1,400 bridges since I took office. This year will be the final year of the Rebuilding Michigan plan. With the final $700 million bond, we'll keep fixing our most economically critical roads and bridges. To keep this momentum going, my budget proposes matching funds to draw down federal investments from President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law and Inflation Reduction Act. If we make this strategic investment, we can bring home billions of our tax dollars back to Michigan. In total, this budget proposes nearly $400 million to improve local roads, highways, bridges, and a combined total of nearly $1.1 billion with the Rebuilding Michigan bond. We must keep our foot on the accelerator to fix our infrastructure. From roads and bridges to pipes and chargers and transit, everyone benefits when we make these investments. We want to build in all kinds of communities, all kinds of infrastructure. If you want a backyard that backs up to the woods, go for it. If you want to live in a dense, walkable community with amenities, go for it. There's something here for everyone. No matter what kind of community you live in, you deserve to be safe as you go to work, drop your kids off at school, and run errands. This year, let's build on the $1.5 billion of bipartisan public safety investments that we've made since I took office. We know that this works. Right now, there are some Michiganders who feel unsafe in their communities. In this budget, we will help local and county governments hire, train, and retain more police officers, firefighters, and EMS. We'll graduate another class of MSP troopers and better secure our capital. We'll continue tackling the root causes of crime by funding proven community violence intervention programs to reduce shootings and save lives. And we'll expand our behavioral health capacity, expanding access to mental health services for Michiganders of all ages. I can see at least Representative Brayback's really excited about that. Let's keep prioritizing public safety and build a safer, more just state for all. In 2024, let's keep focusing on the fundamentals: building housing, lowering people's costs, improving education, and fixing infrastructure. Let's protect and expand fundamental freedoms. Together, let's deliver another balanced, bipartisan budget and build a strong economy where anyone and everyone can make it. I thank you for your time today and just want to reiterate one last thing before I open it up for questions, and that is, as we are negotiating any piece of policy that has budget implications, I want to make sure that we continue to do that in the confines of this budget. As we have in the past and want to in the future, don't negotiate budgets all year, every year. Right now is the time for us to set Michigan's budget. We need to do this work together, and with that, I'm delivering my proposed recommendation for the budget and look forward to our conversations where we go from here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Governor. And we do have a couple of questions. We'll kick it off with Representative O'Neill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Governor, thank you for your leadership and your team. Governor, yesterday we had the delegation from Ontario in town which always gets me to thinking outside of our own perspective of how we're doing in Michigan. And even though we keep hearing the economy is strong, as it is, we know that many Michiganders continue to struggle. What else in the recommendation that you can communicate that would help alleviate some of those burdens that our families face?
Thank you for the question, Representative O'Neill. I appreciate that, and we'll just share with you, as we've talked many times, the twin North Stars of what the work that we've been doing is lowering people's costs and growing our economy. We center our work around these two things, and more people in Michigan can be successful now and for the long run. I'm very proud of the work that we were able to do together over the last 12 months in terms of delivering $1 billion of tax relief for Michiganders. We are now going to see those policies coming to fruition now that we are beyond the sine die close and the beginning of these bills coming into effect. And I'm proud that Michiganders are going to see tax relief as they file their taxes, and many will be getting money in the mail. And so I want to encourage Michiganders to keep their eye on their mail. But we also know that there's more good work to do here. When we deliver free breakfast and lunch for children in Michigan, 1.4 million Michigan public school students, that saves that household an average of $850 per student that they have. That is real savings in the pockets of Michigan's families. When we deliver on universal pre-K for all, that's child care costs that families don't have to incur to the tune of about $10,000 a year. By eliminating the financial barrier for Michigan students to be able to attend community college, that too is about $4,000 of savings annually. So there are a lot of different pieces in this budget that I would draw your attention to as we think about how do we help Michiganders get ahead and keep more of their dollars in their pockets. And so I think that we are on the cusp of being able to really do more than we've gotten done in this last year, which I think was an enormous amount. And I'm excited about that prospect and eager to work with you and your colleagues if there are additional ways that we can both be fiscally prudent, keep our eye on Michigan's economic future, but also deliver additional savings for Michigan families.
Thank you, Madam Governor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Welcome, Governor. So many of us were ecstatic when during the State of the State you mentioned housing as one of the top priorities. And the folks in this room last year, we made some pretty bold investments in housing. A mix of LIHTC, affordable housing, missing middle, investments in our land banks. How do you envision building upon what we've already done so that it addresses housing issues ranging from senior housing, issues related to folks who are unhoused in our communities, including right here in Lansing? Just talk a little bit about how we're building upon the historic investments in housing from the previous budget.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairwoman. Anthony, this is, I think, something that if you're traveling in Michigan and you're asking people in any community what would make a big difference to you and your community, it's housing, housing, housing. Whether you are in Midland or Traverse City or in Downriver, I know that housing is top of mind, and it's not unique to Michigan by any stretch. This is a national problem. In Michigan, over half our housing stock is over 50 years old. We know that different communities have different housing solutions, and that's why ensuring that we've got kind of the panoply of tools with which to work is so crucial for our success in this space. I want to acknowledge that our Mission Director, Amy Hovey, has been, I think, really, she and her team have been moving fast, and they've presented a $1.4 billion investment plan in housing. It is not one size fits all. I was fortunate to be in Benton Harbor a couple of weeks ago. Whirlpool has been a partner in the work that they're doing there, building a apartment housing with special rates for people who are in public service, they're first responders. I was in northern Michigan at a project that the state did with Habitat for Humanity and met a family that, with 2 kids, that finally was able to find a house and have a yard for their children. They moved out of an apartment where they were really cramped. This is a game-changing thing for Michigan families, and we know that this old housing stock And the dearth of housing stock is something that we've got to continue to chip away at. So $1.4 billion investment is going to be game-changing. It is 10 times what we were spending 10 years ago. I think that there will always be more good work to do in this space, but we're moving it fast, and certainly the partnership with the legislature has been the foundation of why we've been able to get so much done and why we're on the cusp of doing so much more.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Representative Steckloff?
Thank you, Chair Whitwer. Thank you, Governor Whitmer, Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, and your entire team for being here this morning. As a huge supporter of My Leap and the Michigan Achievement Scholarship, I'm excited to see us really focusing on pre-K and continuing education. As you said at the State of the State and along this morning, free education for pre-K as well as community college. Is there any way more specifically you can walk us through how the state is able to afford to provide this?
Absolutely. Thank you, Representative Steckloff. I think it's important to highlight the early paying down on MIPSers. I think that this is something that is not just fiscally prudent. It is the ability to invest dollars that should be going into the skills attainment for our people, our youngest people, to graduates of high school, to ensure that we're successful in this space. And that's why, instead of just throwing the dollars into an account, we wanted to reinvest and make sure that those dollars are going right to the things that are going to improve outcomes for our people and improve lifelong health and lifelong wealth. And those investments, from pre-K to community college and free meals and other things in the continuum, are really best practices and the best science-based way that we can ensure we're improving outcomes. But I'd like to invite the budget director, or what is your title? Deputy Budget Director. You know, I don't get caught up on titles, so I don't know anyone's titles. I know that this is my director and deputy director, to share anything in addition, if you'd like.
Yeah, I think the governor hit the nail on the head. And when we think about return on investment, it's been proven time over time that investing in early childhood is where we get the biggest bang for our buck. And we also think about the expansion of access to community college and a four-year degree as a change in a person's lifelong trajectory and earning higher wages throughout their lifetime. So we're so excited to sort of capture this opportunity and inject more resources into education from pre-K through post-secondary. And I know the benefits will be bearing fruit for years and decades to come.
Thank you. Senator McCann?
Thank you, and thank you for being here today, Governor. Just want to build on that and appreciate your investments in K-12, but also really excited to look at what we can continue to do for post-secondary and higher education. We've seen the advent of bipartisan initiatives like the Michigan Reconnect, or the Reconnect program, as well as the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. And you know, we've talked a lot about 60 by 30. Maybe you could expand a little bit on how 60 by 30, you know, what that really means to the future of Michigan and how we're going to benefit from these initiatives.
Thank you, Senator McCann, and apologies, Deputy Director, I should know your title. Okay, jump in. So, you know, as we talk about what the future economy looks like, we know that we have to be a state of lifelong learners. Used to be that you attain a certain skill set and you were set for life, but with an economy that is eternally changing and doing so quickly, we've got to be nimble, and we've got to make sure that we've got the skills that lead to high-wage jobs. The investment from early childhood to leveling barriers so that people can get advanced skills, I think, is something that is not just important for the individual, although that's my primary reason for promoting this, but it's also for our collective economy going forward, as we are a place where investment is coming to. That is a top-of-mind question. We also know that a two-year degree improves your take-home pay on average by $23,000 a year, and a $4,000 barrier is what's keeping people from pursuing that. And so it's in all of our interests that we are leveling that barrier as well. As we think about, you know, where we are headed, having that concentration of talent is going to be really important. When I took office, we were the only state in the Midwest and only 5 states in the country that had not set a formalized goal for skills attainment. And that's why I said it in my first State of the State. It was 60 by 30. We were under 40% of our adults with a post-secondary certificate or degree, or under 45%. I got to go back and double check all those numbers, but about 45%. Now we're north of 51%, which means we're making headway. We've got more good work to do here, but leveling that barrier, whether it's through the Michigan Achievement Scholarship for graduating seniors, or it is the Reconnect for adults who want to upskill, or it is just guaranteeing this opportunity for all high school graduates. These are ways that we can help adults in Michigan ensure that they get the skills that give them a good job and give us that concentration of talent.
Okay, thank you, Governor. That'll do it for questions for this portion of the presentation. Governor, thank you very much for being here today and for your ongoing partnership with all of us. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with you all getting this budget done by May. All right. Well, everyone behind me is hoping we do. Anyway, regardless of how long it takes, I'm sure we'll get it done by the statutory requirement and hopefully earlier. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you on this. Thanks.
Okay, we'll now turn it over to Director Flood to continue the presentation.
Good morning, Chair Anthony and Chair Whitwer. Thank you so much for having us this morning and members of the committee. We are looking forward to working with all of you in the weeks and months ahead to get a budget done that makes a real difference in people's lives. I've got by June 30th, so we've got to sync up our notes, but we look forward to working with all of you. Thanks to the governor's strong leadership and the collective work of everyone here, Michigan is a success story. Just want to revisit last month at the revenue conference, we heard from the experts. Our economy is strong, incomes are growing, unemployment is at historic lows, inflation is cooling, and revenues are up. Today, we'll present a budget that is responsible and balanced. It continues making fiscally responsible investments. It pays down certain debts, including paying off a mortgage early to free up funds to inject into education. It makes government more efficient, and it grows the rainy day fund to an all-time high. Highlighted here are really what we view as the major priorities that we looked at in building this budget: helping kids learn, lowering costs for families, powering economic development, reducing crime and keeping our kids safe, fixing our roads and bridges, and fiscally responsible budgeting. I want to visit just one more time the debt payoff and that we've been talking about this morning, and really how that has allowed us to restructure the budget in a transformational way. By paying down this portion of MIPSers early, we are able to inject incredible resources that are going to benefit kids and families in this state for decades to come. This allows us to dedicate future funding for all of the additional K-12 wraparound supports that we've seen over the past few years, whether that's school meals, before and after school programming, investing in literacy, tutoring, and continuing to build on the weighted foundation allowance. It means more money in classrooms to help our kids learn, and a guarantee to all kids and families for a public education from pre-K through an associate's degree. It means lowered costs for families, bigger paychecks for workers, a new dedicated revenue stream for childcare, and resources for families who need a hand up. I did want to spend just one moment looking at the size of the general fund over the past few fiscal years. The red line you'll see here is inflation adjusted, and so this year's budget really reflects more of a return to normal. We all know the benefits that we've seen from a huge injection of federal resources in the past several years, thanks to President Biden and our congressional delegation. We've invested together those resources in responsible one-time ways that are going to benefit our communities, our kids, and our infrastructure, and this budget is sort of a return to normal. Looking at the size of the general fund from fiscal year 2019 to 25, we've seen a 3.9% increase. You all know this well. The source of our budget is about 42% federal funding, 23% is school aid, restricted revenues are 16%, and general fund is 18%. And then when you look at how we spend general fund, more than 3/4 of the general fund is spent on healthcare, protection of vulnerable children and adults, public safety, and education. I'll highlight a few of our signature priorities that the governor didn't dive as deep into quickly before turning things over to our deputy budget director. Talent, I know we've all been talking about it for a long time. We hear it from employers across the state. This budget will build on our historic investments in talent by continuing to fund Going Pro, including an additional $20 million in one-time funds, building on Reconnect and the Achievement Scholarship, continuing to invest in talent action teams and employer-led collaboratives at Leo as well. I wanted to spend a minute on small business. My parents are small business owners in Macomb County. They work their tails off, and they're my reminder every single day that small businesses are the backbone of our economy. And so when we look at this budget, I see small business throughout. Small business owners are real people. My parents are working through right now taking care of aging and sick parents. They're thinking about funding for their grandkids' future college savings. And so I see small business owners throughout this budget. The investments we're making in talent will help them fill critical job openings, and then just a few other things that I wanted to touch on. We're proposing today a program that would allow small businesses to offer employees a retirement savings account at no cost to the employer. This will support over 275,000 small businesses with fewer than 100 employees to enroll their workers in a plan to start saving for their retirement. We've talked a little bit about the Michigan Innovation Fund. This came out of recommendations from the Growing Michigan Together Council to help spark new investment and support entrepreneurs in our state to support high growth, high wage startups in innovative areas like green tech and healthcare. And we're also proposing $5 million for the My Contracting Revolving Loan Fund, which will help small and disadvantaged businesses secure equipment and insurance to help them compete for state contracts. This budget gives families a helping hand. We are proposing for the first time since the 90s changes to the Family Independence Program, which would help families who need a hand up during hard times. This includes helping to bring down the cost of utility bills and investments in energy efficiency. We've got, on top of all of the historic investments in housing, which Chair Anthony mentioned, this budget includes the $50 million ongoing in housing that this legislature worked to appropriate last year. That's a historic new dedicated revenue source to focus on housing, which is a challenge across the state. Then we talked a little bit about vehicle rebates to save families $2,500 on a new electric or hybrid vehicle. Leveling the playing field, we've got a number of investments throughout the budget with this focus, including increasing support for recommendations that came from the Racial Disparities Task Force. We've got $10 million ongoing general fund and $25 million gross one time. This includes investing in community-based health clinics, mobile health units, and addressing disparities in healthcare. We're also supporting an investment in state certification, credentialing, and endorsement of 1,000 new interpreters serving deaf, blind, and hard of hearing, and then providing translation services so residents can access information from michigan.gov in a variety of languages. We're really focusing on healthy and safe kids. We've got additional investment in the Healthy Moms, Healthy Babies program, which helps support new moms and babies early in life. We'll continue funding free school meals for families across the state. We've got support for student mental health and safety, $300 million, and per pupil funds for districts to spend on mental health or safety needs to be defined by each district. And then we've got ongoing support to make sure we have safe, clean drinking water in childcare and in our K-12 school system. Just a quick snapshot, I think we all need to take a moment to recognize the work we've done together to invest at historic levels in our K-12 schools. You can see here the trajectory going back to 1995, and the purple dash reflects where this budget will take us. And so under this administration, basic operations funding would be increased 25%. We're going to fully fund the special education foundation allowance and further invest in weighted foundation allowance, including more money for high poverty students, English language learners, Great Start Readiness Program, career and technical education, and then rural districts as well. Just a few closing remarks before I hand it over to our Deputy Director. This budget is built to ensure that future fiscal years are balanced and that we're not using one-time dollars for ongoing spending. This budget will help our kids learn, power the economy, support our workforce, rebuild our roads and bridges, reduce crime, and keep families healthy. I'm really proud of this budget and that it invests in priorities that I know so many of us have fought for and worked on for so many years, and we have the resources to make those investments. I look forward to working with you all in the coming months to make our state the best place to live, raise a family, start a business, and care for those that we love. And now I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Director Kyle Grunt to walk through the rest of the budget presentation.
Thank you, Director Flood. I'm cognizant of the slide number that we're on right now and making sure that we have enough time left over for questions. So I'm going to do my best to delve a little bit deeper in some areas and give you some flavor of additional investments that are in this budget, knowing that, again, one, the documents are all online at michigan.gov/budget. That has a lot more detail and goes into more depth. And also the conversations that we will be having together over the next few months as we get to an executive rec on time. The FY25 budget supports students from cradle to career by starting with quality pre-K and early childhood investments, some of which you've heard already this morning, all the way through making college accessible and affordable for all. This budget includes additional ongoing investments in early on and home visitations for early identification of children who may need additional support to get them the services they need. Significant investment is included to expand student literacy supports. This includes a new program that funds expert-led evaluation of available literacy curriculum, supports for districts that adopt and implement top-rated curriculum, and awards payments to districts that engage in innovative and effective literacy interventions. The budget also continues to support for literacy coaches, professional development, and school-based tutors. A 2.5% ongoing increase for universities and community college operations is also included in this budget and includes resources to provide a pathway for graduating high school seniors to receive an associate's degree or skilled certificate through community college for free. As the governor mentioned earlier, this budget helps our grads make it in Michigan by providing them the opportunity to land good paying and in-demand jobs. A $500 million investment is proposed for the Strategic Outreach and Attraction Reserve Fund to continue to invest in Michigan's future to attract transformational projects and keep Michigan at the forefront of manufacturing. $20 million is also proposed for business attraction and community revitalization to stimulate job creation and prevent private investment, revitalize and redevelop vital properties, and support small businesses that serve as the backbone for our communities. Combined with the $100 million ongoing investment, these investments will create jobs and develop high-quality places that attract residents and spur economic growth. $20 million is included for Key Industries Apprenticeship Pilot to encourage partnerships with unions, organized trade associations, and employers to offer paid apprenticeships in key industries for eligible high schoolers, helping to keep our young people in state. $20 million is also invested in talent solutions to address current and future workforce needs. These funds will be used strategically to provide specialized economic assistance to businesses that are locating or expanding here in Michigan, as well as develop customized solutions to fill identified talent gaps in key industries. This budget includes $20 million for Michigan marketing initiatives to build off the iconic Pure Michigan campaign with a focus on talent attraction, labor retention, and relocating to Michigan. This is in addition to the existing $15 million provided for Pier Michigan to promote the state as the best place to live, learn, build, work, and play. You heard a little bit ago about the significant investments we're proposing in road and bridges and our road and bridge infrastructure. There's also additional investments around transit, rail programs and transit innovation grants. I'll just highlight the $30 million investment for those transit innovation grants, which are to support technical and other grant assistance for local transit agencies to spur innovation to connect to Michiganders with new public transportation and link communities more closely together. This budget includes $40 million for water infrastructure replacement improvements and builds on the significant 24 investment that we made in this space to keep replacing lead service lines by providing loans and grants to local communities for water infrastructure. These projects will augment replacement and upgrade efforts funded through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act to ensure Michigan fully leverages every available federal dollar in this space. $80 million is included in this budget for contaminated site cleanup, brownfield redevelopment, and economic siting. This proposal would increase the state's tipping fee from 36 cents per ton to $5 per ton to bring Michigan in line with the average fees our neighboring Midwest states have. This funding will be dedicated to environmental remediation through the Renew Michigan Fund, helping to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from solid waste and prolong the lifespan of Michigan landfills. The budget also includes $55 million in increase in statutory revenue sharing payments, representing an overall 10% increase compared to enacted fiscal year 24 ongoing appropriations. The breakdown is similar to what was enacted in 24. We're proposing a 5% ongoing increase in the general statutory revenue sharing, a 2% one-time payment specifically for local public safety initiatives, and a 3% one-time payment for localities that have fully obligated their COVID relief local fiscal recovery funds by October of this year. $50 million is proposed for the revitalization and placemaking program to continue building on our efforts in 24 and provide grants that will be used to rehabilitate vacant, underutilized, blighted, and historic structures and develop place-based infrastructure associated with traditional downtowns, social zones, outdoor dining, and other public spaces. The FY25 budget also provides increased supports for our healthcare industry to make sure that we have the medical infrastructure and quality healthcare staff to meet the needs of our residents. A recent Michigan Health Endowment Fund study estimated that only 68% of Michigan residents who have behavioral health needs receive the services they need. So this budget includes expansion of our Michigan's certified community behavioral health clinics to expand our support, expand sites throughout the state, as well as establish a more sophisticated oversight and monitoring system for the Medicaid and CCBHC system, as well as includes $36 million to increase rates for behavioral health services provided through Medicaid health plans. This proposal brings parity in reimbursement rates for behavioral health services paid through Medicaid health plans to improve access to needed support for Medicaid enrollees. We're also proposing one-time $2.5 million investment for first responders and public safety mental health services to treat symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder and other behavioral health concerns that are part of their daily lives. $1.8 million is also included to fund the recognize the elimination of the monthly My Child premiums for low-income families with uninsured children under the age of 19, saving families approximately $120 more a year. As you heard earlier this morning, the budget includes a the Caring for Michigan tax credit, which will provide a tax credit for qualified caregiving expenses, saving people $5,000 on their taxes, leaving more money to spend on necessities. The governor also mentioned the child care benefits for child care workers. Numbers-wise, we're proposing $60 million of an investment for a 3-year pilot project. The median child care worker pay is approximately $13.71 an hour, or roughly $28,000 a year annually. The average cost for child care for one child is $10,600 annually, meaning the average child care worker would need to dedicate over 37% of their income in order, if they want their child to receive the same care they provide for their children on a daily basis. Therefore, the governor is proposing this 3-year pilot to provide child care professionals with state-funded benefits as part of the Child Development and Care Program, granting them the option to have their children eligible for the same care they provide to other children. Moving on to creating a more fair and equitable Michigan, investments here will work to support low-income and disadvantaged communities, some of which you've heard already this morning, to help create a more fair and equitable Michigan. $38 million is proposed to restructure rates, ensuring needed beds in residential facilities for children. This funding will support a restructuring of those contracts to better meet demand and ensure beds are available for children who need them. We're also proposing a $13.7 million investment to discontinue mandated payments made by fathers of children born out of wedlock, allowing resources to stay with young families and infant children. Michigan is currently just one of just 3 states that are still operating this type of birth expense recovery program. $15 million is also included for the Michigan Energy Assistance Program. This investment would provide a 30% increase in funding to support low-income households that are struggling to pay energy bills, and would represent the first increase in this program since 2012. The FY25 budget includes investments that will reduce crime and recidivism, bring in our criminals to justice, and support the hardworking individuals that protect and serve our state. Additional one-time funding is proposed for community violence interventions, building on the FY24 investments that were made in this space and currently being implemented. $10 million is also proposed for the Michigan Public Safety Communications System to provide ongoing life cycle upgrades to ensure critical infrastructure works for local first responders and state emergency personnel. This communication system provides critical around-the-clock emergency communication to over 2,200 public safety agencies statewide. $5.5 million is proposed to support full-year salary and equipment costs for the 50 troopers in the 145th Trooper Recruit School, anticipated to graduate this June. Additionally, the budget maintains attrition savings that will allow the department to hire and train 120 new troopers from existing resources while continuing to increase diversity and make the department more reflective of the communities it serves. As well as a $5 million investment to establish training, recruitment, and retention grants to support local law enforcement agencies. This investment will reduce violent crime by helping to ensure cities have the necessary resources to hire, train, and retain police officers. This budget also proposes a $5 million expansion investment for the Michigan Department of Civil Rights to ensure it can investigate and address complaints of unlawful discrimination from underserved communities in a timely manner. And also increases support to better meet the health and educational needs of prisoners with targeted investments to increase success through education, training, and reentry programs. Part of creating a better government is ensuring our departments and programs have the tools and technology to provide great customer service to Michiganders. You'll notice in this budget recommendation that the budget includes several key investments aimed at making government work better for the people we serve, focused on improving the speed of permitting, regulatory decisions, and operations by expanding capacity to serve Michiganders across several key departments. The governor mentioned earlier about our proposed investment of $100 million to bring the budget stabilization fund up to $2.2 billion in FY25, and you can see the graph there of the continued growth from FY21 to what we're proposing presently. I think I did okay on time. I'm sorry, that was really fast. There's a lot of stuff in there, and sorry if I rushed through too much. Before I turn it back over, Madam Chair, I'd just like to recognize our team from SBO, some of which are here today. Others are online watching, and thank them for their hard work and dedication and work with our department partners over these last couple of months to get us to this day. And with that, we'll turn it back over to you and look forward to partnering together to get this done.
Thank you. We do have some questions. I'd like to start out with Representative Leitner.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you guys for being here. I look forward to, seeing that baby over there. Anyway, I have lots of questions, but we'll just stick to one for right now, at least from me, as kind of a clarification. So it goes back to the breakfast and lunch program. Experts and even the governor has indicated that nutrition is a key to learning. And with this budget and the extension of the free breakfast and lunch programs in the schools, we know hunger knows no bounds. So what about the kids in parochial schools and or homeschooled that are homeschooled? Are they included in this plan? And if not, why are they left hungry?
They are not included in this plan. As we initiated this proposal last year, and in talking with our friends at the Department of Education, there's been significant uptake in the public schools, so much so that we've had to add additional resources this year to make sure that schools get the payments they deserve. So we see continued use of this. I think, the parochial school question is a fair question, and, something that can be discussed throughout the development process.
Thank you. Senator Heisinger?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director and Deputy Director, for being here today. Appreciate that. If this budget were to be passed, can you tell us how much money would be left on the state's balance sheet?
Sure. Right now, as presented, there's approximately $7 million left on the general fund balance sheet and a little over $12 million in the school aid fund.
So just to be clear then, if income taxes had not gone up by $700 million this year, the budget recommendations would be out of balance. Is that right?
If that were the case, I think, we've had a conversation and both around town and in the courts, and the way we propose this budget reflects current law and spends and invests appropriately in Michiganders and resources they need.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Braybeck?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director Flood, Deputy Director, and your team. Thank you all for being here. We talked a lot about investments in healthcare, and I would love for you to be able to talk a little bit about the prescription for kids and that integration into our Michigan communities, and if you could talk more about that and other investments, again, particularly around healthcare and our kids in our communities.
Sure thing. We look forward to working with you on this. Investing in our kids and behavioral health was one of our top priorities as we worked with the budget office team and our departments on places to invest for the upcoming year. One of the things I'm most excited about is our expansion of the CCBHC's program, which Senator Stabenow fought very hard for in Washington, D.C., and provides us a huge opportunity to leverage federal dollars in communities across the state where we can expand access to behavioral health. I believe you mentioned the RX Kids program. We are so excited about the investment that we all work together in Flint with Dr. Mona and so many other partners in the community to provide this sort of novel program to support new moms and babies in those families. And when we talk about investment in early childhood, I know we're often thinking about pre-K and child care, but how incredible to make that investment before a child's even born and in the early months of life. And so we're really excited to explore opportunities to expand programs similar to RX Kids throughout the state and work with partners in philanthropy, local mayors, and see what opportunities there are to expand programs like that across Michigan.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Senator McMorrow?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you,
Budget Director, and Ed. I really appreciate pulling forward some of the recommendations from the Growing Michigan Together Council. One of the other recommendations that the council made very directly was in transit, particularly regional transit. And just this past week, Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania announced more than a $280 million increase into their state's transit. And as we think about economic development and how all of these tools work together, you know, you look back at the Amazon HQ2 exercise, and we were prepared to offer a $4 billion incentive, and that wasn't enough to make up for our lack of talent and lack of transit. So can you talk a little bit about whether an increase in investment in transit was considered, and if there will be consideration moving forward given the Population Council's report?
I'll highlight, thank you for the question. I'll highlight just a few of the investments that we've proposed, as well as an existing investment that we all work together on. In this budget, we set aside $30 million in grant assistance for local transit agencies to sort of create a challenge. There's a lot of federal dollars available right now, and so how can we all work together across local communities to link our communities and come up with new options, draw down those federal dollars. We also have a $75 million line to support federal transit capital grants and some other matching funds. Beyond that, we did have a lot of discussion about this. We all worked together last year to create the Make It in Michigan Competitiveness Fund for investments just like this. How do we draw down additional federal dollars? And as the work plays out over the coming months, I know we'd be excited to have additional conversations about transit and what that could look like.
Thank you. Representative Bolin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much. It is good to hear that we're going to continue some investments in paying down debt, building the rainy day fund. That certainly is an important part of the budget. I have a question on the housing and what we're doing to really measure success that we've had. Reports show that we're actually 190,000 units short for housing. Senator Anthony mentioned about unhoused people, but it's $1.4 billion if the average house median price in Michigan is over $200,000. That $1.4 billion is really going to not make a lot of movement forward. So what are you doing to make sure that the program is going to be effective, successful, and is there a plan for meeting this long-term need?
Housing certainly is a challenge across our state, and we hear it from residents, we hear it from employers, and that's why we're really proud of the work that's been done. We have a brand new, as of last year's budget, $50 million ongoing annual investment in housing. Those dollars were effective as of October 1st, although MISHDA, I know, has been working really hard going back to last February to come up with a plan. I'll tell you, we've got Director Hovey and her team are among the best in the country. They've come up with some creative tools and financing options to get us to that $1.4 billion, which is historic compared to what we did in years and decades previously. And so we look forward to leveraging those and working with local communities and developers to build additional units and refurbish units that are out there and welcome additional ideas that the legislature has to help us tackle this huge problem.
Thank you. Senator Camilleri.
Absolutely. When I think about the investments in education, the things that we're proposing here, the things that are so exciting to me is that we're investing in our kids earlier than we ever have before. And when you think about their lifelong trajectory and what that means for health outcomes, wages. We're talking about first generation college students, which there's data on that shows just lifelong change. But also the challenges that we hear from employers in the business community every single day about whether kids are ready for a career as they graduate from high school. These investments are going to help us get there. We're going to have more students completing a certificate or a degree and ready to fill those high demand jobs that will make Michigan a leader in our country. Beyond that, all of these investments help lower costs for families, and some of the recommendations from the Growing Michigan Together Council highlight where we have a competitive advantage, and Michigan's a great state to live, work, and play, and anything we can do to help bring down the costs of living, I think, goes a long way.
Representative Morgan.
Thank you, Chair. Director, I'm very happy to see these proposed investments in roads and transit. I think our infrastructure is one of our biggest needs at this point in time. As we look to increasing our population and attracting young people, as Senator McMorrow mentioned, the consistent answer I hear from young people is public transit. That is what they want more of, that is what they need, and they're moving to places in this country that have these investments in public transit. I'm very happy to see these investments in the budget so far, but I'm curious if your team has looked at opportunities to provide more ongoing funding for public transit as a means of both long-term planning and building out infrastructure and for attracting more federal funds. My understanding is that a key to attracting federal funds for transit is that you need ongoing funding and support so that the feds know that when they invest in our state, we're going to keep that investment going. So I'm curious if you've looked at more ongoing funding for that.
It's a great question. I know we're all digging into the recommendations from the council together, which was submitted to the executive branch and the legislative branch. And so I think we look forward to digging in and working with all of you, and let's get it done.
All right, Senator Albert.
I appreciate that question, and I'm proud of the work that we've done to pay down debt and our outstanding liabilities at a time when other states have stopped making those payments or rated those funds. We've more aggressively paid down our outstanding liabilities and debt, paying down much more than the previous administrations. By the end of this fiscal year, we will have paid down $21 billion. And when we're talking about the OPEB portion of MIPSRs, I was expecting a question from you on this, and know that you know those acronyms better than the average Michigander. But when we talk about that obligation being fully funded and freeing up $670 million, there's no greater investment with a better return, there's no investment with a greater return than investing in our kids. And that's been proven over and over when you look at early childhood, when you look at K-12 and how do we make Michigan a top 10 state. Now is the time to inject those resources into our schools.
All right, Well, thank you, Director Flood and Deputy Director Garant, for presenting the governor's budget proposal today. We look forward to collaborating with the subcommittee chairs, the Senate, the State Budget Office, and the Executive Office as we take our first steps to getting this year's budget process started. With that, seeing no further business, Representative Snyder moves to adjourn the House Committee on Appropriations. Without objection, House Committee on Appropriations stands adjourned.
And without objection, Senator Kavanaugh moves that we adjourn the Senate Committee on Appropriation, and without objection, we stand adjourned.